Hello. It just blows my mind in some ways how quickly we go from Sunday, Monday, and then boom, it's Thursday. It's Thursday, the 4th of September. And it's 7 in the morning. It's 7 o'clock, 7:30 morning, sunshine. I'll have to close the blinds probably in a second, but cheers, people. Well, you go ahead and shut it because it's gonna. Yeah. Well, I have a little bit to share today because yesterday Jeff Morris of Scutter came by and brought me my award. We had a good visit. I'll talk about it, but right quick, I want to respond to the last comment that I received on yesterday's video because that's a pretty good, pretty interesting question. I think. Let me pull it up. It was my slow ass computer. Okay, so the person says, "Good morning, Dereck. I'm checking in." He posted this about an hour ago. A little late on your comments about Oasis. I agree with you. They're not the most musically or intellectually engaging band. But have you ever found yourself connecting to music you wouldn't normally like just because it was tied to a person who made an impact on you at the time you heard it? I hope that makes sense. Yeah, it makes total sense. And I had to think about it for a little while, but I thought the answer is actually no. Music's got to be good. I've had experiences where, like, okay, the closest thing I can come to that is music that I experience live. That it's like being in that moment with the people who have created whatever it is they've created, and you can share in that energy. I've experienced that and still can experience that with music, where it's like, no, I don't particularly like this, but I'm digging this in the moment, live. So I can understand what he's saying, but mostly my experience, because the stuff that I like from the past, I still like it, except for things like that, like a lot of punk rock, like I don't listen to anymore, and sold, and don't regret some of the bands that I've shared shows with, indie bands who are kind of coming from that era where people didn't know how to play that well, but they had a lot of moxie and said, "We're going to do this," and you share in the joy of them doing it. And I've actually do still have records to weed out where that's why I bought them, was because I shared a show with these people, and it was a wonderful experience. But no, I don't particularly like the music. So that's I thought that was a good, interesting question to ponder. So, cheers. Let me get another sip of coffee. It's really cool this morning. 46 degrees outside. It was a great night for sleeping. So, as I began to say, I think Jeff Morris, the leader of the band Scutter, stopped by yesterday with my award and to visit because we're friends. And even after I left the band because of my disappointment in them, the whole rest of the band having voted for Trump, it just blew my mind. It's just like we live in separate realities. But I always loved the guys, still love them. Back in the day, I'm gonna go on about this for a minute, okay? I got some records to show. This might be a long one. The band started in 1972 or 73, Scutter, because we had a great not discussion, a great visit. He's a good friend. And so he was saying to me yesterday that it dawned on him that it's been 52 years since he started the band, and I was in with them in an incarnation in the early '80s, and then the last incarnation before they broke up completely. But if you can find them, they have two collectible 7-inch singles from the '70s. Let's Go Steady. I'm not on the singles. I wasn't in the band. And the other one I don't have. This is called Strike Force. It even had a limited picture sleeve, and Jeff only has one of those because he was going to give me one, and then he found out he didn't have. He had a few of these, but none of the other. So if you have this or if you've seen this, that's the band I'm talking about. I'm not on this record. I'm in the box set, and I'm on the last. Well, they just recently. I hate that about the damn. Since I left the band, Jeff and Daryl put out a newer digital CD of Scutter stuff, and I'm not on that. But anyway, here is the award, and that looks good. Now on the screen, when they were presented on stage, they had the name spelled Skudder, but it's Scutter. So they got it right here, like they got my name right, and that looks nice. And it's nice. You can see that it's nothing expensive, but it has the right look, as opposed to when I was inducted into the Nebraska Hall of Fame in 2019. So I keep forgetting. This is what they gave everyone, this plaque. And, I'm proud of this, but, I'm getting ready to get another one. I'm getting ready to get another one of these from Nebraska in a couple months for Scutter. This one is for me. But as you see, I'll be curious to see what the awards look like this year from Nebraska. We had a real good conversation. Jeff is a true friend, so we speak frankly. And so I recapped his experience of the ceremonies, and he shared the unfortunate reality that everything is about the bottom line money. So here he is, the leader of the band, being inducted to the Hall of Fame, and every time you turn around, they're trying to get money out of the inductees. T-shirts, coffee cups. They were actually going to try, and they were actually charging inductees to go and see each other at the jam sessions. And Jeff, who is in this way like me, said, well, you people are fucking full of shit. He just walked into when our friends Indigenous from Nebraska, they got nominated like we did as a border band. He said, fuck you people, I'm the reason why this is happening. He just walked in and they left him alone, which they should have. And I think a lot of more artists there probably ought to have done that. But the naked money grab about this stuff is the thing that is sucks. It's things. The bottom line about things just totally sucks. We were able to talk about how I told Jeff, I'm really proud of my time in the band, but I told you, and I didn't mind doing it like that. So I told you because he shared with me, it's like, well, I'm having hard times because he's a private contractor, does light construction and repair, and who have been his crew all this time, mostly Mexicans. And he was saying he had to admit it. He couldn't. He's being run out of business because he can't hire anybody. Most of the people he could hire to do the work were Mexicans. Legal, illegal. He hired illegal people, but he said legal people won't work outside um, for fear of getting carted off. And I said, I told you. I don't know what you guys mean. He said, I know you did. I know. And I said, I couldn't understand what you guys were seeing. The other guy, Daryl, if you see this, Jeff or Daryl, you know I'm telling the truth, and I'm just going to tell it, Daryl really pissed me off because he was, deluded, thinking his reason for voting for Trump was that Trump was going to do something good for the economy. He's done the exact opposite and bit them both directly in the ass. Directly. So, thank goodness for friendship and for me being clear-headed enough to see these are my brothers. I love the music unites us. It's unfortunate about politics, Enough of that. It may crop up again, but I'm extremely proud of these accomplishments, and I got another one coming in 2 months. In November, we get inducted as a band into the Nebraska Hall of Fame. So I'll be adding that. I've done this before, but I'm going to show it again because I'm proud of these. So I have these other awards that I've won. Excuse me. And I don't have them all because I share them with the other band members. Excuse me. But I want to show these. I'm proud of these. I am. Not in any particular order because I forget, but so this one is nice. That's a nice looking. This is for 2018. 2018 RAF won Best Punk Rock. And when bands win like these type of awards, they only make one and give it to the band. So if the individual band members want one, they have to order them. However, RAF, basically, I'm the keeper of the keys. So I have our awards where the other band members didn't want to pay to get one. So in 2020, we won again the Omaha Entertainment and Arts Awards. Outstanding Punk Band, RAF 2020. That year, I won twice, actually. I won for Best Punk, and I won Artist of the Year in 2020. Now, that's a high honor. Artist of the Year. It was the COVID year. It was a year that COVID hit. But when they discussed my reasons and accomplishments for receiving Artist of the Year, I said, that's spot on. I'll take that every year. So there was that. That year, I won twice that year. I also won individually in 2016. I've been nominated more times than I can remember. But in 2016, once again, I won as an individual. Best Progressive Experimental EDM Artist, Dereck Higgins. There I am. And again, another nice looking. Yeah, I do have a mantle out there in the living room where all these are on display. And then 2023, RAF Best Punk. This is heavy, actually. This time, the other band members, the drummer at least wanted one of these. So I ordered extras so there are those, and I'm proud of these. I'm also going to show this award that I received not for music, but for my advocacy for the mentally ill, people with mental illness. I won this National Recognition Award, Heroes in the Fight, from the National Alliance for Mental Illness, Nebraska chapter, individual community supporter, Dereck Higgins. And this was this is heavy too. I like it. recognized nationally for through the Eli. Well, I won't bother with that. For my advocacy for people with mental illness to be treated with dignity, respect, and proper representation legally. On my last job, I spent almost as much time in courtrooms as I did in classrooms, advocating for my clients who were, you know, constantly being abused by the justice system because they have no money and because they're mentally ill and were misperceived by the courts. So I'm proud of all of that stuff. Very proud and very happy to share it with you. Absolutely. It's what we do. Think of all your friends and even yourselves who have done sports and other things and your trophies, you know. After a while they get dusty and some people just after a while you take them down, you put them in a box and put them in the antique. But those are significant moments and achievements worth sharing. So there that is. Cheers, people. So there's those fires out in California yesterday. My sister and nephew Karim almost had to evacuate. She sent pictures on the phone. It was stressful, and it was just, I said, that's just the way life is. There I was yesterday in Omaha having a real good day, inwardly celebrating my award, plus basking in the glow of a wonderful visit with my friend Jeff. Jeff is 75 too, like Otis 12. But Jeff's health is unfortunately failing, you know. And but we got to talk deep, you know, and I love life. I love people, and I know that I'm thinking right when it comes to what's going on in this world and my perspective on my fellow human beings. I have some records to show that I played yesterday because I did end up celebrating by listening, but also because while Jeff was here, I received my mail for the day, and I got a record in the mail from Ari Mundo, who is a Norwegian independent artist. Yeah. Here's a nice letter. Sending you my new LP that I had printed in Norway this summer. Thank you for mentioning my earlier releases. Maybe you will like this one too, and perhaps you will mention this one on your vlog as well. Of course, if you send me something, if you send me a physical artifact of your music, I will review that. Like I said, I draw the line with digital. Some things I'll mention if it really impresses me. But so he sent this to me, and it's let me take this extra stuff out. I only gave it a listen, so this, like these cassettes, which will be, I got to one cassette, I'll get to more, but this is a limited edition album with artworks, only 100 of these. I love getting stuff like this, I do. Numbered, number 29 out of 100. This is all his artwork. Fat, 180 gram, could almost be 200, but it's 180 gram vinyl. His work is on the dark side. I've kept everything you've sent me, Ari, because of the, well, I do like it, but it's not the sort of thing I listen to a whole lot these days. But I appreciate Telesterion Records is the label that put this out. I don't know if that's his or someone else's. But songs for the anechoic chamber, you know, those chambers where it's dead silent. But you know, the man obviously cares a lot about his art. I appreciate him sharing it with me. So this will get a deep listen. I haven't done it yet though. But that's mainly to let you know, Ari, that I received your record. Cheers, people. Back to Jeff right quick. While we were, he came over while I was practicing, because I am practicing, for a couple reasons. And I was playing along to the House of Love, the English band, UK band. I love them. And he caught it and he said, "Is this you?" I said, "That's a wonderful compliment, Jeff. Thank you." No, it's one of my favorite UK bands of all time. House of Love. I think they're one of the greatest English bands ever for my taste. Much, much, much better songwriters, much better band than, say, for example, Oasis. And I have Oasis records, so I know what I'm talking about. It was a nice compliment that he thought the House of Love was me. But that was, you know, I'll just say it, you know, some people don't know this, but the punk rock barbecue that's coming up next weekend, as a matter of fact, a week from Saturday, is this annual event called the Punk Rock Barbecue. Bunch of bands, a bunch of food. REF has played a bunch of them. Well, Danny Vigilante, one of his other bands, Jimmy Scappa, is going to be one of the main bands this time around. But the surviving members of REF, we might show up, and we might, it would be technically the last time that we're ever going to play together. So I'm letting that cat out of the bag. We've kept it under our hats, and it's still under the hat, really. The main thing is I do plan to attend for a time, because I'm not into going to shows and parties and stuff and being around a lot of people anymore. I'm not. But I'm practicing just in case. Okay, I'll take it that far. So, yesterday, some music got played, and I love this about music. When I showed the Hank Roberts, if you look in the comments from yesterday, someone who was watching is their family friends with Hank Roberts. That's awesome. Excuse me. That's awesome to hear that, and to just have that real human connection and realization that we're all just humans, family, friends. Musicians and artists are not beings from outer space, like when I was a little kid, when the Beatles first happened, and that was so surreal. It seemed like that at the time, and we're back down to earth about music and artists, at least as I am. Most of us are. So I listened to a side of this. I'm going to keep it. This is mostly pretty tasty, and it sounds like the band Tycho, literally. There's some vocals on here which I don't care for. Okay, duh. See, I'm embarrassed. So this record is several different artists, and the first artist is Tycho, and that's why the next track on here had vocals, Matthew Deere. So I'm gonna have to turn this over. I don't remember I've ever played side 2. I'm embarrassed. So that's why it sounded like Tycho, because it was Tycho, first track. But I don't remember what the B-side sounds like. But I like Tycho. I have one of their albums. So I'm gonna keep this. It was enjoyable. I pulled some things because, again, with the idea that more records to possibly be traded and sold, and nothing like that happened yesterday. But I did play. This is a record that I couldn't remember. Prefuse 73, Surrounded by Silence. Forgot the fact that it's a double album, even. The thing that got me to buy it in the first place is that it's on the Warp label. Not everything on Warp is to my liking, but in general, Warp, with a focus on electronics, has been a pretty good label to take a chance on in recent years. So I got into this. It reminded me a bit of DJ Shadow, but it says that all music written, produced, and played by Prefuse 73. Now, it lists samples on here that he uses, like, for example, Linda Perhacs. But it sounds like if he's playing a lot of these instruments, he's quite an instrumentalist. But I'm thinking that mostly what I'm hearing is samples and beats. But it was enjoyable. It wasn't real predictable. You know, I enjoyed it. It, as I listened to it, and also the other thing that I'm remarking to myself as I play records in here is noting the quality of the records themselves being played on my turntable. And records that are cut good and mastered the way I like them really is real noticeable. That one's pretty good. This is another Warp album where I've always found it to be lacking REQ, car paint scheme. I found two of these years ago used. It's hip-hoppy, but mostly instrumental, but several tracks are real skeletal. I mean, like almost just nothing but the beat. But I listened to this enough as I come on. I said, there's got to be a reason why this person got signed to Warp and not only made one, but two albums, if not more. And it took two sides worth to finally get to, okay, I'm getting it now. Because it's pretty elemental and skeletal, hip-hoppy type of beats, samples, voices, different things, popular culture references, voices from TV and stuff. So it was finally good enough that it's like, okay, this is actually pretty decent, besides being on the Warp label, which is part of how I look at it. It's like part of my Warp label collection. Looking forward to the new Chameleons album, which is going to be out pretty soon. The Chameleons, another one of my favorite bands that I rate highly, and I rate them much higher than Oasis. Yeah, I'm gonna put that like, if you don't know the Chameleons and you like the Oasis, you ought to hear this band. Why call it anything special edition? They're about to put out their first new studio album in ages. Looking forward to it. The first single, which is out on the internet, is very good. I've played with the leader of this band twice, Mark Burgess. I've got to perform Chameleon songs. There's footage on the internet with me doing that. A great honor. It's a great honor to call Mark my friend. I love his songwriting. He's a character. He is. He's an eccentric character. He seems a little nutty. I mean, I've spent time with him, and he reminds me of, most directly reminds me of Ray Davies of the Kinks. This album is a red and blue. And this is pressed nicely. Looking forward, that's something I will be seeking out, but because Mark's been to Omaha twice, Homer will likely get in the new Chameleons album because he has fans here besides me. But there's a song on here called Indiana. I don't know why it's called Indiana because I can't make that out from the words when they come through. But I love the chorus, and I just love the song. It hums along nicely, and the guitarist does the artwork. Looking forward to the new album. This was a pull because it's like I just haven't listened to this in so long. This is real cool. I love soundtracks. Someone a while back asked me to show my soundtrack collection, but it's not all in one place. It was for a while, for years, but now they're all scattered. So that would be hard to do, but this is one of my favorites in the soundtrack area. Let me get the words and the name correct. Masahiko Sato, the pianist. I've never seen this movie. The movie is Belladonna. The Witch, 1862. I don't remember when this movie came out. This is a cool soundtrack. It incorporates his jazz elements with kind of like Henry Mancini sort of orchestral stuff, and then other incidental moments of music. Real tasty. Belladonna. Also, this is a reissue because originals, again, hard to find, collectible. It reminds me, I rewatched an interview with Michael Ackerfeld recently where he shared that, he's not rich and he doesn't splash money around, but as a record collector, he shared that he bought an original Growers of Mushroom by Leafhound, paid $2,200 for it. Crazy. But he said he wanted it and he wasn't going to get it for any cheaper. A couple more records. This one is like, I kind of knew this was going to be a treat on the new needle. And it is Near Death Experience, Hiromi Hosono, co-produced with Bill Laswell. Big bass, super clear cut and production where you can hear everything and spatially. And then when that bass hits, when you play it on vinyl, it hits differently than digital. It's big and warm, and this album is just so killer. It's everything from an ambient to Bill Laswell's bass being put to real good use, the way he thumps and has just a real solid groove. Bill Laswell. Real gritty is the word this week. Gritty. This album is fantastic. And full disclosure, on my Sonospheres first Sonospheres album that is made up almost totally of samples, except for a little bit of live playing by me, there's a sample of Heliotherapy on it. But I bet you most people can't recognize it. You might. Here's one where it's like, okay, is it time for this to go? But no, this is just an artifact from the times, but it's also actually pretty good. Peter Bardens, who was in Them way back in the day with Van Morrison. I think yesterday was Van Morrison's birthday, or recently it was. Don't care for Van Morrison. Don't have any records by him. Someone gave me a Van Morrison record. I gave it away immediately. Write My Name in the Dust. I think this is 1969, and it's a combination of him playing the blues, the pop rock sound of the day back then. He's got the black backup singers who everybody was using in the day. Clyde E. King. What's the lady's name? I know these ladies' names. So Linda Lewis, Lisa Strike, Judy Powell. Okay. So he's using them. He's got Reg Isidore on drums here too, another name I know. But by the time he gets to side 2, it's getting a little bit proggy. So this is a keeper, writing my name in the dust, Peter Bardens. Hadn't played this forever. And this is an old record from the 70s that was recorded and cut sweet. Il Baricentro, Sconcerto. Love that cover too. Orange, yes, I like oranges, mandarin oranges in particular. Sounds like this. The flavor of this is fusion, but it's bright and it's like early morning, especially like the second track on side 1, Liro Bianco. The way it starts, it sounds like sunrise. It sounds like a beautiful sunrise. They caught it. Now they have more records, which I've never been able to find in stores. Trisciante is, I can remember the name of that one. I have it digitally. This is the one. I love this album. Hadn't played it forever, and it's fantastic. And this is probably my favorite Hot Chip album. A Bath Full of Ecstasy. I saw them live, and when I first encountered them on TV off their first album, I noticed the Prince. It was Prince done through nerdy white guys, and I said, this is cool. They just developed since then, and when I saw them live, they kicked ass. This is a good band. This is probably my favorite of theirs, and this is the limited edition version where they encourage you to, all the credits, everything is all printed on this one, on the cover. And they encourage you to color it in. I've seen some people who've done that. I'm not going to do that. This album, sonically, but also musically, I love this album. It's probably my favorite. There's a what I call a hippie vibe to their lyrics. You know, melody of love on here. It's beautiful. A beautiful sentiment, but also the music. And the beats, really well recorded. And it's one of the things that they are an influence on me. I don't try to sound like them, but they're an influence on the way that I record, where I try with my beats to make them sound fat for whatever the track is needing. So there's some music for you, okay? And I see that it's a long video. So let me go ahead and wrap up by saying I see on the phone that the danger is, my family is clear of danger of those fires in California right now, but that had me concerned. I'm glad they're okay. And once again, I'm showing you this 2025 Hall of Fame inductee, Iowa Rock and Roll Music Association. This means the world to me. I mean, there's all kinds of people who get these awards for different categories besides music. And a lot of people I've never heard of, and that's beside the point. But when I see people who I do know who, like, for example, I don't know why Joey Molland of Badfinger is in the Iowa Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but he is. Kind of like the Everly Brothers. They're not from Iowa, but us, we're border bands. I forgot this. Look, there's some direct connection between Badfinger and Iowa, and he's in their Hall of Fame along with me. That means a lot to me personally. See what I mean? So, man, yeah, I'm in the Hall of Fame with people like Buddy Miles and 311, the Eagles, Badfinger, and more than that I can't remember, you know? It's a high honor. Cheers, people. Okay? Let me know how you're doing.